Video, I want to talk about Ultimate Iron Man. Now, this video is going to be mostly just me rambling about my thoughts, why people play the mode, and how I feel it is perceived by the community. And so this video, although it's going to be kind of negative towards Ultimate Iron Man, at the end of the day, RuneScape is just a video game. And so if this is how you choose to play, power to you. I'm just kind of analyzing what it is that gets people to play the mode to begin with. And so the first thing to consider, and I think the most important thing to realize, is that everyone who plays this game wants to feel important. And so what I mean by that is if you take a look at the high scores, you'll see all these players with their accolades, if you will, 99 this, 99 that. And then you also have players that are going after collection log slots, right? And so regardless of what you're doing in the game, at the end of the day, your goal is to achieve something. So that could be, as I mentioned, it could be the high scores, it could be the collection logs, or maybe it's, maybe you have a friend group that plays and you're trying to compete for who gets the most GP, or who gets better at a boss. There's so many different avenues that players take to kind of stabilize or become what they feel is important. And so what does that have to do with this topic here? Well, I believe that most people who play Ultimate Iron Man are the biggest forms of validation seekers when it comes to RuneScape. These are the players that just want attention. Now, I'm not saying every Ultimate Iron Man is an attention whore. Well, I am saying that in a way, but typically the people that play Ultimate Iron Man are people that have played RuneScape for a very long time, right? And there's this well-known fallacy called the sunken cost fallacy, which is the idea that the more time you spend into something, the more you want to get something out of it, right? And so people who play Ultimate Iron Man, they've logged thousands of hours into this game. And, they've gotten good at the game, they feel they're good at the game, and they want to take it to the next level and do a challenge mode. And there's other challenge modes, right? There's Iron Man, Group Iron Man. But these Ultimate Iron Man, they are taking the ultimate step, no pun intended, of setting themselves above the rest. And so my opinion on Ultimate Iron Man is that at one point it was a very, it was a novelty. It was a very prestigious thing to be good at Ultimate Iron Man, right? Because back in the day, no one knew what to do, right? These days you have YouTube videos and tutorials that show you point A to point B. I mean, there's a guide out there that literally walks you through the most efficient ways of leveling an Iron Man. And the same goes with Ultimate Iron Man. And so that challenge of playing the mode is no longer what it used to be. And so that's why, the points I was making earlier, why are people playing it? Well, whenever you ask an Ultimate Iron Man, they're going to tell you, I'm just bored with the regular game. I wanted a challenge. But really, is Ultimate Iron Man really much more of a challenge? I don't believe so. I mean, because here's the thing about Ultimate Iron Man. The idea of the mode is that, hey, you don't have a bank. But the reality of it is you do have banks, multiple banks, through the death storage, through your house's storage. And so really all they're doing is adding more time and complexity to preparing for different parts of the game, right? If they're going to go kill a boss, they have to plan it out and get the right gear from different death piles and this, that, and the other. But that's not really a challenge. That's more of a time investment increase, if you will. And so to me, I don't think the reason for Ultimate Ironman is the challenge. I find that very unlikely to be a real reason. I think the main reason people play it is because they want the attention. They want to be higher in the high scores, right? If you're an Ultimate Ironman, it's significantly easier to reach the top charts of any category. I mean, when you've got a tenth of the population playing the mode, actually, I don't know the exact number. I assume it's at least a tenth, probably way more less than that. Actually, probably a thousandth of the population. It's way easier to get into the top 100,000, whatever it is, of any category. And so you'll see that a lot, right? A lot of the people that play it are YouTubers. They're people that play the game a tremendous amount, and so they feel they can compete in those high scores and set themselves up above the rest. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that really, why would you play a game if you didn't feel like you could compete or get something that others couldn't get, right? It's like when you play a single player game, obviously you're not competing against others, but what you are getting out of it is you're getting the experience. If somebody plays a single player game, say like a Skyrim, knowing that they played it, they can then go and talk to their friends. Oh yeah, I played this game. It was this, it was that. They have that experience that they get to share with other people. And so you're gaining something from playing it. And so I think, at the end of the day, Ultimate Ironman, to each their own. I think it's a mode where you can kind of set yourself apart from the rest and still, feel like you're achieving something in a game where everything's pretty much already been achieved, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure the front page of this game has, an entire page of 200 mil alls, and everyone's got so much high stats on the high scores. A new player coming to this game, if they want any chance to compete with the high scores or achieve something that hasn't been done before, they have to play Ultimate Ironman mode, or at least Ironman mode, right? Because the regular accounts have pretty much achieved everything at this point. And so, yeah, I think it comes down to what you want to feel is important in the game, and I think that's typically why Ultimate Ironman play that mode. They want to feel like, hey, I'm doing something that others can't do, or whatever. And so the reason I thought to make this video is because I see a lot of people in the RuneScape community, especially, that kind of treat Ultimate Ironman as the nerds, the mega scum of the earth, the whatever. And I think that comes from them feeling like they're superior, right? They always, say, "Oh, it's so easy to play this mode. It's so easy to play that mode." At the end of the day, it's a video game, and what was once a challenge is no longer a challenge once you've synced enough time into it. I mean, as somebody who starts killing Zulrah for the first time, they're going to be confused. They're going to have a hard time. But after they've done it 10,000 times, it's now a trivial thing. And so the same thing goes with Ultimate Ironman mode. You play it enough hours, you get used to the flow of dying to bank your items and preparing this way and that way. You get used to it, and it stops becoming a challenge. And then at that point, it's just about climbing a high score, getting a higher point total than somebody else in X activity. Yeah, again, no knock towards players that play it. I think it's not for me. Same with Ironman mode. I played that for about 2 years on and off. I actually ended up de-ironing my Ironman account because I was just kind of bored of it, and I realized the main reason I started Ironman mode was because I felt like, oh, this is a challenge. This is something that's untreaded. And at the time when Ironman first came out, whoever was playing pretty much had a chance of being on a high score somewhere, or being the first person to obtain this item, or whatever the case may be. But now, it's been ran through. There's Iron Man with max 200 mil alls and every item you can think of, and so now it's lost its steam in terms of challenge. And I think, if Jagex were to introduce a different mode, like let's say they came out and said, hey, we're going to introduce the region locked Iron Man mode, right? If they did that, the first, couple months, it would be a challenge and it'd be exciting and people wouldn't know what to do. And everyone who's on the high scores and getting ahead are the actual players that are good at the game. But after, a few months, then it becomes a guide that people follow. Oh, I want to have a Kandarin locked Iron Man. I'm just going to look up this guide on how to get 99 in every stat. And at that point, you're just following a guide and it's not a challenge, and it just becomes boring, at least for me. But I can see why people play it. The allure of being number one at something, or being the first, it's exciting. I think when RuneScape, old school RuneScape first came out, I remember a lot of people were jumping to get the first fire cape. And I remember the first person to get it was Bonesaw. And I mean, people tuned into his live stream. He had thousands and thousands of viewers because it was exciting to see something that's never been done before. But once it's been done, then it becomes less exciting, and so that's where I feel like the ultimate Iron Man mode is at this point. I feel like it's at the point where it's not really exciting, and it's kind of just in a way, a circle jerk of people that are trying to get onto a high score somewhere, and they want to feel like they're doing something that's never been done. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I just feel like the reason people play it is not for the challenge, but rather for the notoriety that they get for having achieved something on a scoreboard, or something on Reddit, like, oh hey, I got a quest cape as an ultimate Iron Man, because that's the thing, you're never going to find an ultimate Iron Man that doesn't make a point that he's an ultimate Iron Man. I mean, some of them put it in their gamer tag, like UIM XYZ. And if they don't put it in their gamer tag, best believe they're gonna find random points to chat to make sure everyone around them knows. Now, obviously, I'm joking, and that's not always the case, but I think that's where the negative stigma kind of comes, right? People have a negative stigma towards Ultimate Iron Man because a lot of the players that play it are the types that make sure to flaunt whatever they've quote unquote achieved in the game, and they kind of like to feel as though every other mode is easier. But like I was saying, that's not even the case. I think Ultimate Iron Man mode at this point is just a trivial thing. It's not a challenge anymore. There's so many guides out there, so many videos, and so that point that a lot of Ultimate Iron Man make of it being a challenge is kind of gone. I mean, if you were somebody who started Ultimate Iron Man today and you never used a guide and you just went balls to the wall as an Ultimate Iron Man, yeah, that would be a challenge and it would be pretty impressive, right? But nowadays it's just not the same.